Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Earlier today, I got a text. From somebody I'm working with. I run AmSpirit Business Connections. We help people, entrepreneurs, sales reps, professionals, get referrals. But I do have a series of people that I work with one-on-one, not a ton, but people one-on-one who struggle with networking for one reason or another. I won't get into all of that. I don't want this to feel like a pitch, but I do work with people. And one particular individual texted me, and he was sharing. I won't get into the whole thing, but it was just like, geez, I don't know that I'm paraphrasing. I don't know that I'm enough to connect with these people. I've been on their LinkedIn profile. I don't know that I'm enough. And he and I we have a call in a couple days. And so I'm kind of going back and forth with him, trying to encourage him. Hey, move forward. You are enough. You are enough. And I find that, that is not a unique situation. And in all honesty, there have been rooms I have not walked into, metaphorically, because I haven't felt like I'm enough. And I think we all deal with this imposter syndrome. Today I have a guest. I have Patricia Lindner on with me. She is the visionary behind the Magnificence movement, and she's host of a empowering podcast by a similar name, Magnificence. And Patricia is she's on a heartfelt mission to uncover the inherent magnificence in each of us. She believes that our purpose is to let that brilliance shine, and in doing so, and with her work, she's helping make the world a better place. And we'll get into all this, but she specializes in helping her clients break through the mask they wear and navigate challenges in areas like money, career, and visibility, kind of what I was just talking about. She has quite a rich background, 17 years in teaching and a deep understanding of energy psychology. We'll touch on that. And she has a proprietary approach to things that are truly transformative. And you'll find she's got a blend of creativity, intuition, and mastery of tools like human design, and I'm sure we'll touch on that as well. So, at any rate, Patricia, thanks for jumping on. I do want to say she's coming to us from Germany. So I don't think I've ever interviewed anybody in Germany. Belgium, yes. Spain, yes. Germany, another box checked. So, right?
Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction, and thank you so much for having me, Frank.
Oh, no problem. You had me on yours. Shout out to Jason Croft, who connected us. Another amazing person.
Absolutely amazing.
Well, 17-year background in energy. Well, not just all in energy psychology, but lots of things. Kind of give us your quick story and how you got into this.
Yeah. So first of all, as you said, the richest background is in teaching and training teachers. That was filled with a lot of psychology work as well, and practical and theoretical stuff just around the educational field. And I don't know the exact time. It was around the time when my son was born. I felt like I need to know more. I need to really go deep to the core of things. Why is something going on with kids at school? Why are families having issues around learning, or maybe around money, around whatever? And so I had this calling to dive deeper. And so besides being a teacher, I did those deep apprenticeships in ancestral teachings and learnings, transgenerational code cracking. I did logosynthesis, which is the energy psychology model that I use. I dove into a lot of creative, intuitive methods. And so there are so many tools, and I always had this idea of this is not enough. I am doubtful. I really want to get to the core because I want people to be liberated from this false narrative, from what makes them struggle in life, from what makes them tell stories to themselves. And so they can't act freely, they can't reach their full potential. And that's just in a nutshell what I'm all about. And so I left teaching and I stepped into full-time mentoring people on their path to fulfillment and magnificence.
So the story I just shared resonates. I mean, that's people like that who just don't feel like they're enough. I think we all have moments where we don't feel like we're enough.
I think that is a topic that is lying dormant in almost everyone.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is you said to this, I bet, amazing guy, you said to him, but you are enough, you are enough, you are enough. And maybe there is something hidden inside of him or a story that keeps him hiding in the closet because he can't consciously decide that he is enough and something is holding him back. And this is when I am always fascinated once you make this visible and people see the story behind what is holding them back. And when they feel this big relief, when just a couple of sentences talking about logosynthesis let them feel so liberated and so clear and so at ease. That is so fulfilling for me to help them peel back the layers, and finally they can step into the limelight and they can show up and share their message.
Now, you just used the word logosynthesis. Was that it? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure.
I've never heard of it, so I can't say I know what it is.
This is one of the most amazing models. I am not supposed to say techniques or tools because it is bigger than that. And I found it for myself, just this little side note, because I was so frustrated because I could not let go of this automatic negative thinking, just falling back into those old stories. And a coach who helped me back then, that is 7 years ago, 8 years ago, she said that I'm incurable because she can't break through this falling back into the negative thinking. And so out of this need and want to overcome this, I discovered logosynthesis in a book, and I reached out to the author, and then I did the apprenticeship, and then I got connected to the inventor, who is Willem Lammers. He resides in Switzerland, and he is doing incredible work with this logosynthesis model, which helps you liberate your mindset and helps you grow by decluttering this mental attic, this cluttered space that is full of false narrative and is running on default circuit.
Right.
And so it is the method to really become who you are or who you are meant to be, because it lets you easily, just through 3 sentences, just imagine that, Frank, 3 sentences. And so whenever I work with a new client or when there's a new logosynthesis situation, in the end, the outcome is like mind-blowing for me, even though I have been working with logosynthesis for over 7 years now. Just 3 magic sentences make people remember what they experienced, but the emotion around that is gone. And so they can behave differently.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's well, and here was another question I had for you. Kind of a total aside. I mean, at one point your son is born and you're like, okay, I need to learn all this stuff. Are you there? Have you learned everything you want to learn?
No,
Okay. Well, I knew that would be the answer. When I
not
was in
at all.
yeah, when I was in high school, my biology teacher hit us with the saying. He said, "As the island of knowledge grows, so does the shoreline of curiosity." The more
Yeah.
we know, the more we want to know, and it is so true. There's, the
And
more
I would add, the more you know what you don't know.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, well, we see it in astronomy. I mean, they can pretty much see to to the time of the Big Bang, and it's like, okay, what's beyond that? There's something there. Our questions aren't answered. We got more questions now, which I think is a fascinating thing. It's a great place. The human curiosity is a wonderful thing, because it keeps us solving problems and keeps us advancing. And I knew what your answer would be. So. Um, so, people feel this. I mean, you're all about magnificence, and that's really kind of what I'll say is the opposite of the imposter syndrome. People who don't feel like they're enough. And you're, in my opinion, or just the way I look at it, maybe you correct me, is that you're tackling the same problem, but from a more positive standpoint.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you totally got it, Frank. And I just wrote something about the negative approach to leaving the comfort zone, which is this imposter syndrome zone where whenever you want to leave it, you are just held back by some invisible force. You are in this fear phase or fear zone. And I studied those zones that are out everywhere. And they say you are going to reach the fear zone, then you have to learn something. And then finally, you're going to grow. And I thought, I'm going to challenge that. There is a much more positive approach to that. And you're so right. What if you could stand in this comfort zone? And this is just my world, my view. I don't claim that this is correct. And standing in this safe space, and when you feel safe and your body and your mind and everything feels safe, you look inside of who you are. You find everything that is lying dormant inside of you. You discover the hidden gems, the treasure troves inside of you, and then you resolve the issue. So you do not learn something on top of what you already know, but you unlearn the false narrative. You unlearn. So for me, the second step is not the learning phase and someone who teaches you 100,000 things, but I believe it is all inside of you. And then growing is something that takes place organically because your comfort zone expands and without touching the fear or the learning zone. And so learning takes place just from what you already know. I don't know if this makes sense.
Well, can you give me an example of unlearning something?
That brings me back to the guy that was on the phone or on a Zoom call with you, unlearning that he needs
Okay.
to be ashamed or he's less than, or maybe a teacher told him that he's not good enough. Maybe there was one sentence in his life, and I don't know, maybe it was, and I don't judge people who conditioned us because they do the best they can.
Yeah.
But things happen, and I bet I conditioned my kids as well, even though I know a lot about that. But you can resolve it. And so unlearning what is false narrative, what someone made you believe, what someone told you, so that you had to hide behind this mask of persona.
Yeah. Well, I somehow I think it comes to us naturally. I remember going to college. I went to college. I went to a small college in the United States, or university, as you guys might refer to it. But I didn't know anybody. I mean, a lot of people go off to college and they know people, and I didn't know anybody, and I just assumed everybody had a better high school education. Had just was, just I just, But then in time, you realize that okay, that's not the case. You know, we all learned our our letters, our alphabet. We all learned how to read, and the process may have been a little different here or there, but it wasn't wildly different. But in time you start to get comfortable with the notion that, okay, they're just people. But somehow or another. And then when I went off to law school, professional school, kind of the same thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't. So I don't know if this is a natural thing. It's not something that we talk about. Certainly men. Maybe that's a question. Do you think men struggle with this more than women might struggle with it?
I don't really know, but so I just have this feeling around that. So I think it is not a man-women thing. I thought about, I had the word hierarchy inside my head, and I thought of my beginning time of reaching out to people, having conversations. And and this is so interesting, whenever someone was had this I am CEO of, wearing a suit, looking into the camera in a very serious, very intelligent way, I felt like I can't reach out to this person. So I think it is this I'm less than. I don't know if maybe there is this more of an elbow mentality, or more of this hierarchy thing in men.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, well, I mean, the joke here, I guess in the States, I don't know if it goes across Europe as well, but men won't ask for directions, right? Men are driving. I won't ask for directions. Maybe it's just a guy thing and not just a US thing, but that's just, I'll figure it out, because we don't want to ask. We don't want to be vulnerable. And it was interesting, the person who was texting me, hey, I'm not enough, that I'm working with him, so I feel he feels safe. And should. But I'm just wondering if the types of people you work with are more, you're working with more women than men, because men kind of, they put on a brave face, right? I'm scared, but go ahead.
That is such a fantastic question, because that makes me smile. I wanted to really speak to women somehow, feminine path, something like that, women, and so on. So this was like a movement, and that was going on everywhere. And someone just recently said, because the audience can't see that, but I have this peacock image behind me, and someone said, that is really feminine. That doesn't speak to men. That is like really feminine. And I was like, what? Why the heck are? And now this is what I want to focus on. Why am I mainly working with men? So that is the interesting thing. So it is quite balanced, but I really love working with men, and I love when they open up and they see, okay, there is this feminine side inside myself, and I can integrate that, and I can be vulnerable, and that makes me grow. And so I appreciate men and women working with me.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is an audio only podcast, so people can't see. Yes, there is a peacock in Patricia's background. I find it interesting that someone would say that's a feminine image, because that's a male peacock.
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
It is. It
yeah.
is.
But anyhow, neither here nor there. That's just the way it is. That's when you see those feathers, that's the male.
Yeah.
So
They are always the beautiful ones, right?
well, not in humans, but that's just me personally. So it would not, well, we could go down a whole nother rabbit hole there, Patricia. We could go down a whole nother rabbit hole there. But I do think it might be different in humans than it is in other species. So I think in a lot of species, the male is the one attracting. Whereas in I don't know, whatever. I'm going to get in trouble on this podcast. Someone's going to listen and say, okay, Frank, you said the wrong thing. You had mentioned I'm trying to think the term, but you had mentioned the three sentences, can you give us an example of that? There's just.
So I don't want to quote the sentences because it is too long, but the first
Okay.
sentence, so
Okay,
just
so they're not unique sentences.
they are unique sentences.
Okay.
Yeah.
But unique for individuals or just one set of three sentences?
One set of three sentences, but you can tweak them around and turn them
Okay.
around according to the situation. And let's imagine someone suffering from this, I'm not enough. And then maybe they come up with an initial scene or a sentence they heard that made them feel like they're not good enough. Or maybe they can't recall, but they come up with an image of maybe standing outside a field, a circle, so they can come up with whatever they come up. So, and that's what I love about it. You don't have to go back to the traumatizing event. You can share when you remember an event, and then I would fill in what caused the emotion, what caused this false narrative, this blockage. And in the first sentence, it is taking back the energy that you lost somewhere around this initial root cause. In the second sentence, I will tell them to send away all the non-me energy related to this situation that is stored in their energetic field, in all the dimensions and so on. And in the third sentence, it is letting go of all the stored, learned, and repeated reactions to this initial scene, picture, sentence, maybe it is a scent. And then after that, and they have pauses in between to let it sink in. And in the end, I always let them drink something to really process what was going on energetically. And then I have this question, and what is now? And then they, most of the time, always, I want to say always say, oh, that is so strange. I feel such a relief. Did I say that this bothered me? Or maybe it is several layers and it takes a little longer. But then it's gone and it's resolved, and it's really resolved sustainably.
Interesting. I watched someone sent me a video yesterday of a hypnotherapist, and I know you're not a hypnotherapist, but this reminds me of that. She was in this video was talking about anchoring and doing things and saying things, holding fingers together and saying things, and kind of associating the statement with the holding of fingers, and then in time it's just okay. I'm trying to get back to that place, and you remind yourself by anchoring to that one position. To me, it's all very, very fascinating. There's and I know for some listening, it's probably very what I'll call woo woo. It's kind of they don't.
But Frank, just this question, and I more and more feel so confident talking about energy, because this is not an invention, a woo stuff.
Yeah,
we are energy, and this is true. This is the truth. Everything is made out of energy. The chair I sit on,
everything. Yes, everything.
Our bodies, everything. And so when everything is energy, why don't we believe in those things we can't see, like the movement, the energetic fields, the blockages that maybe are frozen in our field because of a story? So I think some might think that is woo, but it is.
Well, I think the people,
science.
the people I encounter that are dismissive have the luxury of being dismissive, right? Because they have a job, everything's going well. So how could these things possibly, be out there? And it's the people who struggle, who become more open-minded to these sorts of things. And, I certainly think entrepreneurs run into this more often because it's tough, right? I mean, when you were a teacher, yeah, it's tough being a teacher, but you had a paycheck waiting for you, right? I mean, you were paid on a regular basis, whereas, I have this conversation with my wife a lot. Rejection is a daily thing when you're a business person.
Absolutely. That's so true. I had to learn to not take rejections personally, to not be my offers, to not be my stories, to just see it as a neutral ground.
Yeah.
Because you're right, when you are employed, you get your paycheck no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are still challenges, but it's not, you're not going to miss a meal because of it, right? I mean, you might not want to eat because you don't feel like you want to eat. So, at any rate, well, let's shift gears. And I didn't want to really delve too much into the 3 sentences. I don't want you to give away your stock and trade. I want
people could find the sentences online. So when you type in logosynthesis and sentences, you can find the exact wording, but it's not recommended to just do it on your own. So you can't do anything wrong. But I think it is more effective to be guided or mentored or shown how to apply the sentences.
And that's my question. Let's talk about Patricia and how you work with people. What that looks like, is it groups, one-on-ones, and then ultimately how people can get a hold of you, learn more about this.
I mainly work with entrepreneurs, male and female entrepreneurs who are open-minded. I don't want to convince anyone that creativity and energetic things exist.
Right.
So they need to be open-minded, and all of them are heart-centered people who are on a threshold of getting to a new level or just overcoming an issue. And as I said, it is men and women, and I work one-on-one because I highly customize my work. And most of the time, people work with me for 3 to 6 months. Weekly or bi-weekly calls, and then we go into the nuts and bolts and the deep stuff, and I help them really break free from the limitations so they can reach their goals financially or in their relationship or around health or career.
Okay.
Right now, I'm working on a group program because I love working with groups as a teacher. I am trained to work with groups, and I thought that would be amazing I love people. And so I would really love to create a small group that is working on something, and I can say the name. I thought about Magnificence Unleashed or the Magnificent Mind. I am playing around with these 2 names, and I'm going to offer that next year. So just slowing down a bit right now. People can reach me on LinkedIn for sure, which is my favorite social media platform. They can go to my website, which is www.patricialindner.com, so 2N, which is a bit tricky. And I'm on the other social media channels as well, but not that often. And I have a podcast. They can listen to my podcast, magnificencepodcast.com, which is an empowerment podcast that strikes a match and shines the light on the magnificence of my guests. And one of them was Frank Agan.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I really appreciate your time. This was a magnificent interview.
I loved it. Thank you so much for your powerful questions. I loved the interview.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.